everybody wants to make this equivalence to natural gas. We get all of our fuel from other countries, and they're just now like, oh, well, why don't we use a natural gas at home? I mean, it just depends how you want to look at it. But if you see one thing, you got to see it all. So,
Yeah, I do think that we struggle with that. I think that we struggle with a lot of things as a global society and as a country, which is primarily what we're talking about here. Um, I have acquaintances. I don't know that I would call them friends, but I have acquaintances who are not shy about sharing their biases with me. And more often than not, they'll share biases about marginalized groups that I belong to, because I clearly belong to more than a couple. And their out is always, but you're different. And the thing of it is, I'm really familiar with, I would have to say, most of the marginalized groups that I am a part of. And I would have to vehemently push back on that. I'm like most of the people I know, um, in one way, shape, or form. So I'm not special. What's special is you've had a chance to build a relationship with me, and you still have in your mind all of these false ideas about cultures that I represent. And I think that the closer we can get as people to, I know you for who you are, not for who you represent in my mind based on movies I used to watch about um, dusty people from the country or whatever. Like, you are a person. I think it is a gift. I think it's wonderful that I can learn about a background that I had no information about, without leaving the city where I live. I mean, we all can travel over to other countries or whatever, but to be able to just meet somebody and shake hands with them and listen to their story and look at different ways that we are different, but our stories enhance one another. And I feel like that's what it's all about. I think so many of us, though, are guarded for whatever reason. And if you cannot break through that relational barrier, then what we're going to do as a culture is continue to spin our wheels.
yeah.
I don't believe that the majority of people who voted for someone who I see as amoral, and this is my opinion. I'm not speaking for any of the groups I belong to. I don't think that people missed that, and the reason I don't think they missed it is because it's like pushed in your face.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm gonna be over here and be a sneak racist or, a sneak gender freak or whatever you want to call it. Like, I'm telling you, this is who I am, and I'm banking on the fact that somewhere deep down inside, you're gonna be able to relate to this. That's an issue for this country, and I'm going to go ahead and use the R word, even though I understand it's becoming less and less legal. But our country has a race problem. It's like a cancer. And you can cut it out of one place, but if you don't eradicate it completely, it is going to keep coming back. It's almost like whack-a-mole. If you're familiar with that game, like, it's going to pop up here. You can beat it down, but it's going to pop up here. What you need to do is unscrew the game and pull all the moles out. And do you know what I'm saying? Fill in all the holes.
Yeah.
And now we won't have that to worry about. And it's just sad because, you can look at, I guess, our racial hierarchy in this culture, and you can say, well, it's okay because I'm at the top. Kind of not, though, because it's a circle. And it's a rotating circle.
Yep.
Now, you may have a pinnacle, a point where this very, very, very tiny group, I believe we've been using the term 1%, is not going on that rotating wheel, but the rest of us kind of are.
Yeah.
And so it's really short-sighted. Again, just know your history. Learn your history. I want to, when there are women's groups marching, I want to be part of those groups. At the same time, when there's a Black Lives Matter group marching, for example, I want the same support and representation from people I supported in those groups that didn't necessarily look like me or my relatives. I don't think that we're there yet, but I do think that that's a place where we need to go. I think we need to stop raising our children um, with biases that they weren't born with. I feel like that will go a long way as well. But the first thing you have to do is look at yourself. They teach you this, like in Alcoholics Anonymous, for example. You have to admit that there's an issue. We don't want to admit that there's an issue in this country with race and bias. And until we admit it, we're not going to be able to even take the first step to fix it.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest issues with that is I think so many people are just defensive in their own biases. I know I have biases. I know I have issues. It's like going to your counselor. You have to be 100% honest with what's going on. You can't just pull up a story in your head and you're basically lying to yourself. And I feel like that's what so many people are doing. Mm-hmm. I feel if most of us admitted the issues that we were having, even to, let's say, a spouse or whatever, like, hey, I really don't like your hair this way. Or I really don't like that you don't put on makeup before we go out or whatever. A lot of the times you might open up a dialogue of some sort where it's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm tired of not wearing makeup either. I just thought you didn't care. Or I thought you didn't like me with makeup. And a lot of this, there's so much of us thinking for someone else instead of actually talking to these people or thinking logically. Like we always talk about the discussion, if like certain people are scared that if another group of people had a fair shot at what they have, they would treat them like they did back during the slavery days. And if you actually talk to most people that are around today that are part of that group, they just want their chance to be successful based on their work ethic, based on their talent, so on and so forth. And no one's really out here trying to get revenge for whatever reason. But then it also kind of makes you upset because when you bring up reparations, the same people are talking more about what's happening for somebody else instead of what's happening for themselves. Maybe you should see about getting yourself some reparation. Don't worry about what I have going on over here. And it's just, it's a slap in the face because as a society, we should care more about each other, like you said earlier. And I'm saying this for black people, for Americans, for really anybody on the planet, because at the same time, we're all pretty much, we have more similarities than we do differences. We all have, for the most part, the same number of chromosomes. We have blood types that are different, but it's all red, just there's so much that we have in common, but we're always worried about our differences that are usually just, they don't matter. Like it shouldn't matter if you're this color. It shouldn't matter if you want to do this to yourself. Now, I feel like the moment that starts maybe impeding on what I have going on, I should speak up on it. But for the most part, if I see somebody else winning, I'm not really worrying about making sure that they lose as much as it's like, I want to win too. How can I win? Can you at least show me or teach me? But I'm not going to be mad at somebody else for winning, especially if they're putting in the work. I see they have the talent.